Hey everyone, so in this section, we're going to show you how to identify high paying sales roles, right? Because not all sales roles are created equal. Some are better than others. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to understand whether or not a sales role is really worth your time and whether, it's a good opportunity compared to others. So how do you find a high paying sales role? Well, first of all, like I said before, not all sales roles are created equal, right? That's just a given. There are going to be more unfavorable sales jobs compared to favorable, meaning that there are a lot of bad sales jobs out there and there are good ones out there, but there are definitely less good ones than bad. So what you're going to do is you're going to learn the difference between what a good sales role is and what a bad one is. And we're going to show you how to find a high paying sales job, which is what everybody wants, right? We're going to first talk about the sales roles you should be wary of. And these are going to be the roles where you should really be careful about, where, you're going to see a lot of red flags. And these are the ones that you should avoid, right? And if you don't really have an option, and maybe this is all you got, that's all right. But, at least you know what you're getting yourself into. So any sales role without high paying commissions is a little dangerous, right? Because if you're not getting paid a high commission, then why work so hard to sell someone else's product and service? So you want to make sure that you at least get high commissions for your efforts, right? And you also want to be wary of sales roles that only have commission. So I'm not saying like these are bad. There are definitely good opportunities where you are selling something and they only pay you commission and you don't get a base salary. Of course, if you sell well, great, right? But you got to understand that a lot of the good sales jobs will pay you a salary and commission together, not just commission. And again, if you do find an opportunity where it's only commission and you feel confident you can sell it, great, that's cool. But I would shoot for salary and commission. And you also want to be very wary of sales where it's high volume, low transactions. So like working at a retail store, a physical stand, a kiosk. I mean, technically these are sales and maybe you do get a commission for everything you sell, but it's a lot of work, right? Because you have to sell a lot of things and each thing you sell is not really worth that much. And so you would rather sell something a little bit more expensive so that you don't have to do as much work. You close less deals, but you can actually make more money, right? So the more high volume and high transaction, typically the lower your commission rates and the more you have to work because it's really just a numbers game at that point. You also want to be wary of commoditized products and services. So things that are not unique, right? You got to make sure that there's some kind of competitive advantage for the company that you're working at. Otherwise, it's very difficult to sell if everyone's selling the same thing at a cheap price. Sales roles where you are easily replaceable. These are kind of challenging because if you are just like, let's say, for example, you're working at a place where it's only commission and if you don't sell anything, they can just kick you out, right? You should be wary of them because they don't really invest in your training and your future success. And you also want to pay attention to the high turnover rate. So when you're interviewing for a sales role, for example, you need to understand and ask questions like, how long does a typical sales rep stay at this company, right? Because if it was good, why would they leave? And so a lot of times, a company might hire a bunch of salespeople and then they find that these salespeople can't sell anything, not because the salespeople are bad, but because maybe the product and service is not competitive and then people just quit and they find a different job. So definitely be wary of all these things. And also, you also have to ask your employer or future employer, what percentage of sales reps actually hit 100% of their quota, right? This is very important because sometimes, a company doesn't have their sales structure in place or it doesn't make sense or it's still kind of broken. So when they try to hire sales reps, nobody's hitting their quota. And so all the money that they promised never comes through. So you need to understand are 50% of people meeting quota? Are 90% of people hitting quota, right? And if they're not hitting it, why is that? Is it the rep's fault or is it actually the company's fault? Because you want to set yourself up in a situation where you're selling the best product and service, making it easy for you to sell. And that's a dream scenario, right? So the better the product and service, the less experience you need as a salesperson because the product sells itself, right? So a lot of times the good sales reps get the good jobs and then so they're already good and they're selling something easy so they make a ton more money compared to, let's say, a bad sales rep who's selling a bad product. They're not going to make any money, right? And it's a little skewed and unfair, but that's how the game works. So let's go give you an example of like sales role to be wary of, right? Like I said before, like retail sales. It's not necessarily like B2B sales. It's high volume, low transactions. You're waiting for customers to come in the store. You can't go out and get them. Low commission or even zero commission, right? Like if you are, let's say, a salesperson working at Apple, you don't get a commission, right? Because the products sell themselves. And there's not much career advancement opportunities. A lot of times when you work in places like this, you're just going to be like working in the store and then you become a manager and then it's like, okay, what else? There's not a lot of career advancement. A lot of people just think of it like a job, not a career, right? And another example is, like I said before, commoditized products and services. So things commoditized basically just means like when it's just so like not unique and everybody can copy you. That's kind of what I mean by commoditized. It's like a commodity. So many competitors who can easily copy you. So for example, if you're selling Facebook ad services or it's any kind of advertising services where, there are literally 100,000 people that do the exact same thing all over the world. Well, what makes you special from everybody else, right? You have to have like some unique factor. But if you don't have that, then how are you going to even compete? No one's going to pay attention to you. And so it makes it difficult to sell. It makes it hard to generate leads and close deals because you're just the same as everyone else. So, if you find yourself selling a commoditized product and service, there has to be some kind of differentiation factor, whether it's the way you generate leads, content marketing, like there has to be something different that makes you unique, or maybe the marketing is unique to get people in the door. But if you're selling something that everybody literally is selling and it's just nothing special and everybody can copy you and they could do it for a cheaper price, it's going to be so difficult for you to generate leads and close deals. So be careful of those opportunities. And a lot of times when you only compete on price instead of value, then the prices just go down, your commissions go down, and it's just not the best selling environment. So that's why it's important to sell a product or service that's unique. So now that you understand the characteristics of a bad sales role, let's go ahead and talk about the characteristics of a good one. So obviously, if you get a high salary and a high commission, this is called OTE, on target earning. That just means like salary plus commission. And if you get 100% of your commission, what does that look like? You want to make sure you get a high salary and high commission. Usually those are the best. Like when I started working at Oracle, I got paid a salary and commission. It wasn't just only commission, right? Because they pay a salary because they invest in you as a person and they have to remain competitive in the market. And usually jobs where they only offer commission, they're not very competitive, right? The best people going to the best universities and who are the smartest and hardest working are not really doing those kind of jobs usually. Sometimes they are, but not always. So an example of OTE, for example, might be like 45K base salary and then 30K commission. And so if you hit 100% of your quota, that's 75K OTE. So that's why, before I said it was important to know how many percentage of the reps actually hit their quota, because when you're determining how much money you can make at a company, you're going to look at your base salary plus commission. And then if the company says like, 90% of people hit commission, then you can feel confident that you can earn that, let's say 30K over here to get a 75K OTE, right? But if let's say only 20% of people are hitting commission, then you might be like, okay, so that means I'll only get a base salary and maybe I only make 10K. That's not that great. So that's why you need to know how many percentage of the reps are hitting 100% of their quota. And ideally, you would want to sell something that's highly differentiated, whether it's a product and service, right? The better the product and service is, the easier it is for you to generate leads and close more deals. So a lot of times you should spend a lot of your energy just to work at the best company possible that has the best product and service possible. Don't settle for a commodity product and service and then think you're just such a great salesperson that you can make it work. There's really no need to do that when you can, if you can find an opportunity to sell something very unique, it just makes it easier, right? Because if you sell a great product and service that nobody else can copy and you're great at selling, you're going to make bank. And so you got to ask questions like, how many competitors does this company have? If you think about like, let's say an Oracle, for example, right? And you talk about like enterprise sales for a specific software, maybe Oracle might have less than 5 competitors in the entire world for certain niches, right? But if you're selling, let's say like a small, medium business marketing software, there's going to be a lot of people that do something like that. So, how many competitors does the company have? And you see if you can actually make it work. And brand name is also very important, right? So ideally, if you can work at a big company like Oracle, Salesforce, Google, obviously I'm a little biased towards tech because that's where a lot of my experience is. But obviously there are also companies in the finance, real estate that are also big names, right? Like if you're talking about investing, it would be like BlackRock, Berkshire Hathaway, these kind of companies. So definitely brand name helps a lot because if you have a brand, it's easy to sell your product and services. People trust you. It's easier to get your foot in the door. That's just the truth, right? But if you want to work at a startup or something like that, that's okay too, but understand that you do not have the brand name. And also for a good sales role, if you do start with a brand name, it's easier to get other sales jobs in the future. So if you want to work at Oracle, then move to a startup, that's quite easy to do because Oracle is a brand name that people recognize. And so, ideally start at a big name if you can, but if not, that's okay too. And it's also very important when you look at a sales role is looking at the opportunity for advancement, right? So typically you're going to start as a sales and business development rep, meaning your job is to generate meetings. And then you want to see like, if you do that job for like 6 months to 2 years, can you advance to an account executive, become an account manager or a sales manager, right? Can you actually move up in your career versus just doing the same job over and over and over? So when you look for career opportunities, you need to ask the employer and you need to see the company structure to see, like, do they promote their reps, right? Is there an opportunity for you to advance your career? Because sales, you don't want to think of it like just a job. It's a career that you progress in, or you should progress in, as you put more years into it. So some good sales role, for example, it might be technology, right? Like I said before, you can be working in real estate, finance, marketing. There's so many different industries, hospitality, right? There's so many different industries where there are good sales roles. But for me, I really understand the technology space really well. So that's why I use technology as an example. And, if I were giving advice to anyone young or not even young, but like anyone looking to start a career in sales, I would actually look for technology jobs because they pay well, they get a working environment, and it is kind of the future, right? And every industry will be affected by technology. So if you sell technology, then, you can pretty much go anywhere if you decide to, not sell technology anymore. But whereas if you only sold, let's say, real estate stuff, well, you can't necessarily transition into technology that easily, right? So anyways, some good sales role, if, for example, in technology, can range from startups to enterprise. Don't think that you have to work at Oracle or something like that. Sometimes startups can give you a really great opportunity to learn and earn. So Amazon, Salesforce, Oracle, companies like that, obviously going to be good. You're looking for high salary, high commission, obviously. High growth potential, meaning there are career advancement opportunities. And you want to make sure that the skills that you're learning, whether it's cold email, cold calling, closing deals, doing presentations, the good sales jobs are the ones where you're going to learn skills that are transferable to different industries, right? So if you learn, let's say, how to sell technology, you can literally sell anything because technology, in my opinion, is one of the most complicated. And so those skills and learning how to sell, doing those presentations, applicable to any industry after you decide to do something else if you decide that technology is not for you. And like I said, other industries like real estate, finance, etc., they also have good characteristics of good sales roles in there too. So don't think it's only technology, but you just want to look for these characteristics where it's high salary, high commission, high growth potential, brand name. These are going to be typically the better sales jobs. So how to find a high paying sales job? Well, the first thing, some tips I have for you is that you want to look for companies that pay you to learn and earn. This is very important. A lot of people, they believe that, they have to pay someone money to work for them. That's not the case. A lot of great companies, whether it's like a big tech company or a small startup with funding, they will pay you to learn and earn. Meaning, even if you don't have any sales experience, you should not be paying another company to train you. They should pay you for your time for you to be trained and help them sell their products and services. So always look for companies that pay you, not you paying them. And like I said, you should avoid paying to learn from a company because a lot of times companies that ask you to pay first, they probably make their money just from the training fees that you have to pay them, right? And a lot of times those might be like multi-level marketing schemes or Ponzi schemes and things like that. So make sure they pay you, not you paying them. So if possible, you want to start high in the enterprise space, meaning like you want to work at a larger company with a bigger brand name because, when you work at a large company and you want to move to a smaller company, it's easy, right? It's so easy because they're going to be like, oh, you worked at Microsoft? Well, we need someone like that. So we're just going to hire you just because of that. However, if you work at a small company that no one's heard of, they don't have any funding, and you try to move up into, let's say you want to work at Microsoft later, it's very hard, right? So it's hard to go small to big, but easy to go big to small. So if you have the opportunity, like especially if you're just graduating or someone that works at a large company, I would start there to give you more options in the future. And where you work, where you get that first sales job is going to determine what options you're going to have when you switch jobs later, right? Because you yourself are a brand, right? People are going to look at your resume. They're going to look at where you worked, what experience you have. So the better companies you have on your resume, the easier it is to get jobs. And so those are going to be my tips when it comes to how to identify the best paying sales jobs and what to avoid. So that's it. That's it for this video, and I will see you in the next.